Hi, everyone. You can all hear me, right? My name is Ambarish Mitra, founder and CEO of Blipper. And today I'm here to talk about how augmented reality and artificial intelligence can impact our lives. And some of you must be already thinking that, are they even connected? They are very, very deeply connected. So, and today I feel partly my role is to clarify some of the confusions you must have in your head, because I read a lot about it as well, what's written in the press, and even I get confused when I'm reading it. So my role here is to slightly be academic about it and explain you what is actually going on in the industry. But for those of you who don't know, let me just define what Blipper is. At Blipper, we initially started the company with a vision that we want to give you more from the world you see. You know, we are all humans. We understand and learn about the world optically. We look at everything, and our goal that computers or phones or machines can look at everything in the world, and it can overlay it with useful information, and you get to learn about it. It was a very big vision, it's a big mission, and we are progressing well. And of course, augmented reality was not a very well-known keyword 6 years ago. We've been going 6 years, but that's what it means. When computers look at the physical world and you overlay information on top of it, that's what fundamentally AR means. So let me define the the continuum. Common sense, our eyes, what you're looking at me, I'm looking at you, is reality. Philosophers might disagree. Everything you see is not reality, but let's say from a common sense perspective, what you're seeing with your eyes is reality. Augmented reality is enhancement of reality. So for augmented reality to exist, reality must really exist, because the computer needs to see something for it to overlay information. So I will come to this detail a little more later, that what's the role of reality. Augmented virtuality, this buzzword never took off, but there were quite a few games where you could see that the human, whether it was Kinect or Nintendo, where the human itself was superimposed into the video game. So you could compete and participate where your virtual character was in a virtual environment, and that was augmented virtuality. It had a bit of a phase. And lastly is virtual reality. And virtual reality means, bit my definition, it's almost escaping from reality. Your immediate reality in front of you may not have any connection to the information you are receiving. So you could be sitting here and taking a walk in Venice, or getting a virtual tour of the Mercedes-Benz factory, and it may not have any correlation to your immediate environment. So it's like true virtualization. And of course, I've not put it on this slide, but you're already hearing this buzzword lately also coming up due to companies like Magic Leap, mixed reality, where it's a beautiful blend of augmented reality and virtual reality. And I can give you an example of that, where I don't know how many of you have visited Rome, but there's a place called Roman Forum in Rome, and it's a total destruction of a site. You have to completely use your imagination. There's almost nothing left. But imagine you go to different parts of Roman Forum, or you go to Pompeii, or all these places. With augmented reality, you're able to trigger content, but then you superimpose that very environment into virtual reality now, as if you are really walking through Rome. But you need to trigger it by looking at things which the content and it's almost going to replace audio guides and things like that. So that is like fundamentally what the continuum explains. Moving on, before we really go deep into AI and computer vision, it's important to understand the evolution itself. And it's bit of a digressing thought, but what we as humans we are trying to do, we are trying to fundamentally do two things. We're trying to compress the concept of time, and in everything we want to get faster and more efficient. We want to go places, we want to build places. And second thing, what we are trying to do from a computing point of view, we're trying to make the computer as near as the human being. So when initially computers were built, it was almost like a very advanced form of a calculation device, but ergonomically it didn't make sense, and typing was a weird thing. But last 15 years, we are seeing this continuous evolution where from keyboard we moved into touch, and from touch we are now moving into natural language processing. And almost, I would say, the last frontier is computer vision, is understanding the world like humans do. But if you see the correlation of our bodily and brain function, almost in terms of complexity, from touch to audio processing to vision is equally complex process. So our brain utilizes like 60 to 70% energy to support the optic nerve and processing everything that is going on. And it's a very hard problem for computers to see everything and truly process things like humans do. But nevertheless, do not treat AR or computer vision as a hype. Do not even treat it as an incremental and sort of innovation. It is going to be a very big macro change, and this could be one of those transcending technologies which truly bridges the digital divide of people who know and people who don't know. Because remember, in human evolution, most people learn most things by looking. You know, there was the literary format and all that stuff came much later. So if computers can look and understand things like human beings, the level of knowledge distribution could be phenomenal, and I'll share some examples straight after. So if computer vision is that important, I'd like to dive a little deeper into this concept. So I was mentioning earlier, the most important keyword in augmented reality is not the augmentation. It's actually reality. Because till computers can totally understand reality really, really well, the scope and the scale of augmentation is very limited. And remember that the computer graphics side of the innovation in the world has been phenomenal. So we don't have any shortage of content. Disney has great content, Apple has great content, regular content makers, design agencies, we can all be very creative in both the two-dimensional and three-dimensional space. But what we haven't had is a platform where we can express ourselves in a dimensionless way. What I mean by that is, today, every level of innovation, what you've seen in the last 15 years, whether it's an amazing film or it's an amazing video or amazing art, it's always consumed in a very flat surface, which is a phone or a TV or a screen. But truly, we are about to enter an age where anything you look at can trigger anything. And that anything could be very useful, or it could be very gimmicky, or it could be very entertaining, like the rest of the internet, right? The internet has a mix of everything. You have good useful stuff, you've got silly stuff, you've got bad stuff, you've got good stuff. So the physical world, if truly can become a canvas, if only through very smart evolution of computer vision. So before even you ask me this question, I'd like to answer it. So what is going on? You know, Apple is announcing ARKit, and Google's announcing its own product, and then there is Project Tango, and what's Blipper's view in this mix. And there have been historically some other companies like Qualcomm, and Apple bought Metaio from Germany like 3 years ago. So fundamentally, computer vision has two sciences, and no one's mastered the combination of those sciences really well. One side of the science, and which is very big dependency, and a lot of us in the scientific community call it SLAM, but ARKit and all the other SDKs that are coming out now, like all the 27 editions, are the geometric side of computer vision. In layman's language, is when a computer looks at any given space, you understand the geometry of it. So surface detection, edge detection, and how dense is that space. So when I'm looking at you guys, this is a very dense space. If I like take an imagery of it, and if I convert it into a line drawing, you will notice it's like very, very busy image. So for a computer to understand this space and know its boundaries, so that now I can fly a drone, and where the drone would fly and where would it stop, all that side is a SLAM-based technology. And SLAM itself has three layers. One is a combination of sort of GPS and slight localization understanding. The second layer is what we call like slightly deeper understanding, so which is dense matrix SLAM. So it almost doesn't require GPS at all. It literally looks at it and it knows, yeah, that's my playing field, and it can also learn. And the last part is the fascinating part, and we haven't reached there, where not only I'm understanding spaces, I'm actually understanding what that space means. So, and many of the self-driving car technology misses that today, where a lot of it is detection of edges, detection of objects, but not an understanding of it. You know, because humans are not only recognizing things, we're understanding. When I put a table and a sofa and a painting and a carpet and a nice sort of a nice curtain, most of us would say, oh, this looks like a living room. You looked at 7, 8 different things together, and objectively you gave it a name. You know, this humans understand things, and humans tag things in their brain. We are not an image recognition engine. We are almost like a learning engine, and we give things attributes in our head, and we sort of tag it, and we remember it. So other side of computer vision. So many of the typical very large Silicon Valley companies have focused when it comes to the AR announcements of placing content in the real world. So I've understood this stage, I've understood this space, I've understood the sky, I can fly a virtual robot, I can put a Pokemon Go character, I can place virtual characters in a real environment. The other branch is the semantic understanding of the world. It's got nothing to do with spaces, it is truly recognizing human being wearing a striped shirt, blue jeans, looks like a university campus amphitheater, amazing modern architecture. Everything it looks at, it almost pronounces that what is its understanding, and it's ever evolving. And we'll reach a stage where if you really want robots and machines to walk along with you, and here robots is not real like walking robots, but machinery to understand things as well as humans do, including your phones, because it's a complex machine with an eye, which is a camera. Semantic and the SLAM, which is geometric side, needs to merge. They're not very clear evidences of it right now, but I predict that inside next 18 months to 2 years, we'll see some phenomenal technologies driving this too forward. So moving on, I'd like to give you some real-life use cases where computer vision, and just so you know, I mean, I'm going down the very detailed definition, but of course, this branch of computer vision is one of the highest forms of artificial intelligence. So in many, of course, there are many forms of AI, but natural language processing and visual processing are one of the most invested areas of AI, because it makes machines more near like a human being. So a very common category, and these days, and very relevant to the venue we are in, I think I already gave this example that today most of the self-driving cars definitely have aspects of dichotomy, almost a moral issue that, hey, if today the programs are designed in a way where the safety of the customer is first. But what if you already have a conscience and you want to program your own conscience in the car? Like if in an event of an accident, who would you like to save? And things like that. Eventually, the LiDAR technology needs to reach a level where it truly is making decisions like a human being, and also when we talk about autonomous driving, we are talking a lot about the car. What we are not talking about is an environment. There's a lot of things going on. The car is not walking in this world in isolation. The people crossing, there are traffic light, and I'm not jumping too much in the future. Let's go with the presumption that this is coming on our streets inside 18 months or 2 years in some cities as pilot around the world. I think we would certainly need a lot of smart camera technology in cameras outside of the cars itself, so that those cameras can feed it some intelligent data to collectively make a decision-making process. That entire decision-making shouldn't happen on the cameras, which is sitting in the car itself. Another key area is, of course, healthcare. We are seeing increasing number of requests where a lot of instruments, whether for surgery or whether for pattern recognition, like I'm forgetting the doctor, radiology. Yeah. So when you're determining X-rays and things like that, the computer vision can make these reports so much faster, and literally something which can take like anything between 2 hours to 2 days can be done within 5 seconds. And also surgical instruments where you can take an expert judgment of an experienced doctor and apply those judgment calls into the algorithm of the deep learning framework, and either a human can operate it remotely or actually set on some basic surgery or putting injection on people and things like that. A lot more automation can take place. But this is a very vast subject. I mean, this also goes on to, I mean, as more time progresses, more and more people are living longer. But at the same time, the science hasn't reached points where the human body is aging, but the human body is getting younger due to advanced drugs, exercise, lifestyle. But there's still the innovation in the area of keeping the human mind alive and alert. And of course, it's a philosophical topic. There's aspect of mindfulness, spiritualism, those alternative ways to do it. But on a base level, there will be a lot of people who will be like 90 years old and above 100 living, and they will have more physical bodies, but they may not be able to recognize people that well. They will lose memories. So there will be aspects of computer vision which will keep our lives and our memories more fresh. But this itself, healthcare as a topic, is so vast that like one could give a 1-hour talk on it. Education, we're already doing a lot of stuff here. At Blipper, we work with 35,000 schools. This is not based on like a very proper empirical study, but most people are visual learners, and I feel that quality of education is proven when a bottom 50% of the class does well, because the top 50% of the class always does well. It's really nothing, no credit to the institution. They're like smart kids, and anywhere in the world, any school, they would have done well. But the real education system is challenged when people with any form of learning disabilities, and we've done some amazing studies which prove that visual methods of learning with AR and computer vision creates much longer knowledge retention. What's the shortest way for a ship to go around an island? Like, if that is taught in a lesson, can be sometimes very boring, but if it's taught visually, it makes tremendous impact, and we've seen like great results there. Also, I'd like to remind you that almost 800 million people in the world can't read and write. And often when people can't read and write, or they can't communicate in a certain way, we have this stereotypical thing. We think like someone's dumb just because they're not communicating with us. But most human life has a bulb switched on, they're intelligent. And I feel that we will see an era inside like 5 years of computer vision and natural language processing blending, where even anybody illiterate in the world can look at anything and ask a question in a native language, and whatever they're looking at will answer back through whatever the ambient device at that point is. So an amazing blend of computer vision and natural language processing will disrupt the education space or enhance it in a bigger way. Training and manufacturing, most of you know, is already happening. There's so many autonomous factory environments, but also there are today several jobs which require computing power and two hands. One very simple example, the guy who is doing the pricing on a shelf in a retail store on perishable goods. He walks around the store and said, it goes something like fruits go cheaper, things go cheaper. And he's like holding this box over here and he's pricing it where he can put those systems in his glasses, it can create a grid, it can almost sense check that those 10% goods have gone red. People can operate much faster. And also, like I'm giving a very British example, but British Telecom has like so many engineers who still climb on lampposts, and then they call someone when something's wrong and they don't understand. So knowledge could be distributed, triggered from the thing you're looking at. It's a trivia thing for you to know, but one of the very big businesses in the world is the service level agreement for Coke machines. So all the fountain shops around the world, they always go wrong every 20 days to a month, and people have to pay a lot of money to go and fix it, and you can self-fix it, and people can look at anything and get to know solutions and print cartridges and IKEA furniture and things go. The list is absolutely endless. Last but not the least, this area has adopted AR in a biggest way and the fastest way. Already, like thousands of campaigns have been done. Blipper as a company has been a sort of a pioneer of that area for a long time. And we have several case studies. But I'd like to leave you with this thought, particularly for if you're at all interested in product marketing. A lot of people think that television is media, outdoor is media, press is media, internet is media, and I don't disagree with any of them. But actually, the biggest media in the world is products. And most marketers do not think of products as media. There are like more Coke cans in circulation in Germany than actually all newspapers combined. And even there are more Mercedes or BMWs or Audis on the street than actually in the showrooms. So what if you can look at any Audi or any Mercedes or any Coke can and they can serve you content. I can call it advertising, but let's just call it content. Whether it's for fun purposes or purely basic information purposes. Since product is the new media, this would become very, very relevant in the world of advertising and marketing. So what I'll do now, I like to, I couldn't bring the whole world here, but I like to give you guys a demo and at least paint a bit of a picture of where the world is going. So just bear with me. And so I'm going to switch on my phone, which you'll shortly see on the screen. Yeah, there you go. And I'm going to switch on the Blipper app. So the Blipper app is almost like a showcase of the technologies I'm talking about. So the first things you're noticing, ignore the result at the bottom because I just checked out a car a moment ago, notice the words. So the words are an indication. This is a pure live demo. So I'm on a Wi-Fi connection or I can go on 4G. There is nothing stored in the application. It's a 10 megabyte application. Everything's happening in the real time. And it will start describing whatever it sees, almost like a 10 to 14-year-old, like on a very generic level. So it says man, audience, performance, group, religious. I don't know, maybe you guys are looking too serious. And whatever I point at, in real time, that scene would change. Like if I literally now point at the sky over here, it says modern architecture, looks urban, steel, very travel-centric, transportation. And see, it has no sense of context. It is literally looking at things and coming into this random conclusion. If I literally point my hand on it, it should be able to describe that, hey, finger, it says woman as well. I've got a bit feminine fingers, things like that. or my shoe, and if I put it on my shoe, it also gave a result. So what and what you're noticing here, I don't know what it felt was a barbecue, but this is all happening real time. It's a 100 millisecond engine. It's processing everything on the cloud, and it's trying to predict. The whole purpose of this is just to educate to you that this system can think. That's the starting point. That's what I was explaining to you, that this is the semantic side of computer vision. And remember, this is a very limited space. Try it anywhere in the world. Go in the Amazon forest, go to your kitchen, go to all the cars parked outside and see it, that you'll be fascinated, if not by the search results, but at least the intelligence of the engine, that it is more or less understanding things like humans do. Now, if I take it down to slightly more specific things, so I brought the latest issue of Hello magazine here, celebrity magazine. I want to show you, and important thing to note here, what I'm doing is not image recognition, because I have not captured this lady's image on my phone. It is trying to guess who she is, exactly like how you would. So if I point my phone at her, it immediately guesses her as Kate Middleton. And again, if Kate Middleton was herself here, it would have said the right thing. And if I and a slightly small image, but if I slightly go zoomed in into these characters, it's, bear with me. So that's Prince Harry. It should guess him as Prince William, and not just like these famous people. Like there could be many models here who we don't know. I mean, you see magazines all the time with people's faces, and you don't know who that person is. So, I know who she is. In case you don't know, that's Jerry Halliwell. So, what is happening is I'm literally pointing at these individuals, and you are seeing results. So, a big part of the world is face itself. Humans are part of this very thing, and today it sort of indexes around 300,000 people. I'll give you some more examples. This is an example in the education space. I was talking about kids learning. So this same browser, if I now pointed at this card, and your view is just going to be on portrait, so bear with it. This lesson is trying to teach kids the orientation of solar system if you are the sun. So you are all of us anyway believe we are the center of the universe. But if you are the center of the universe, how does the solar system behave around you? So you'll start noticing that in a second. So here's our beautiful planet Earth. It's spinning, and you can see the moon going around it as well, like it's literally on your feet. And I have to go around to find the rest of the planets, and it just shows that's how bad my geography is. That was Mars. I don't know where the rest is gone. Yeah, there you go. That's Jupiter. I don't know which one that is. It was moving pretty fast. And you can, that's Jupiter there. And you can then engage with any of them, and it shows you photos, information, and it's a very it teaches you about rotation, it teaches you about revolution, it teaches you about perspective, and it makes it very interesting as a learning thing. So literally a camera can be used to trigger these very things. I'd like to give you a few more examples. There's one in the marketing space. This is a brand called Nature Valley, and they did a sort of a campaign with, let me come out of it. They did a campaign with Spider-Man, the new movie. And they exactly made the product into a media channel. So when I point my phone at this box of Nature Valley, again, it would recognize it. And all of these have sound effects which you're not able to hear. And it says homecoming. It creates this three-dimensional content, and it's okay. It's a game. I would like to go for the easy version. Not exactly a gaming person. And it's loading that content, so just bear with me. It'll get there pretty soon. So you could pretty much trigger content from any object, any imagery, or any location in the world. And this is the reason this is a large file is because it's quite a dense game. It's very rich and it's very visual. If it doesn't load in next 10 seconds, I'll move on. So and also the campaigns can be totally location based. So the products, the Coke in Germany is different, not as in taste, but the marketing is different than in US. And the Coke in Germany will have a completely different engagement than the Coke in New York. So because this is coming from the US servers, it's slightly slow. Yeah. Because I've reached 80%, I might as well show it to you. So yeah, it says there's a game, there's a play button, and it's Spider-Man versus some evil character. You can see literally this box is come to life on top of it. And it's a three-dimensional room. Of course, it needs to be played this way, but I've changed the orientation for visual purposes. There's a whole attack thing. There's a dodge thing. And a gaming person would do a better demo of it, but you get the idea. You get the idea what's going on here. It's not restricted to like brands itself. Like there are a lot of entertainment companies that are also using the platform. So there's a good example here with Disney, where they made the Star Wars logo interactive. You would see what happens in a second. Literally, the Star Wars logo opens up in three-dimensional space in the room. You can go into the depth of it, and again, you can join the rebellion army. Then there's next, and again, it becomes sort of a. It'll convert this theater into sort of a war zone. And these Star Troopers start flying here, and you need to shoot them and avoid it. You can invite your friends and have a multiplayer game. And imagine you are able to do this literally by pointing your phone at a logo. And last, I know I'm running out of time, and I have to speak to Rohan as well. I cannot guarantee this would work because a real car is much bigger than this, but it really works on the real thing slightly better, which you'll find weird, but actually it doesn't work on fake things that well. And lighting here is slightly challenging as well, so I cannot guarantee if this demo would work because I always struggle in stage, but it is meant to recognize every car in the world by make, model, and year. And this is not a commercial content, it's real. And it's a Mercedes-Benz AMG indicative price. You can actually, this is an example of AR meeting into VR. You can see the interiors of the car by literally me having to turn around, what it looks like, and it can trigger from pretty much every car in the world. So the conclusion is. Computer vision is here, and it's going to be very relevant. We will see some very interesting ways for people to learn things, and you will. I'm talking about learning like never seen before. Maybe I'll take 10 more seconds. Let's go back to the Kate Middleton example. Let's say you didn't know who she was. You will literally know who she is. But there's something called the knowledge graph where you can open it up. This is also AI generated. Automatically, it brings in all the information from the internet about her. And this is Kate Middleton and her molecular structure. And now let's say, oh, I know Kate Middleton, but I'm interested, who is this Princess Diana? She fascinates me. Now you go into Princess Diana, and that's her molecular structure. Then from there, you said, oh, who is Queen Elizabeth? Actually, I'm more interested in her. You can literally start from a spoon at home and learn about planet Mars because every piece of knowledge in the world is sort of connected with each other. So this is like the computer vision meets knowledge graph. I thought I'd share this with you. That's all from me. Thank you very much.
That was amazing. I think never have I been happier about a talk running over than that. That was really great. So listen, you've been firing in your questions, I'm sure, which hopefully will start to pop up on the screen. But if not, we've got a microphone as well, just to make this sort of augmented reality thing really work. Let me ask you a question while we see whether the questions pop up, Ambarish.
Yeah.
We're seeing Apple, Microsoft, lots of people get into your space of AR. How do you feel about that? Is that a challenge or an opportunity?
It's the best news ever. I mean, it's actually the biggest validation for an industry. I mean, you can imagine when I used to explain augmented reality to people 5 years ago, I used to get questions like, which is still very relevant, like what's wrong with reality? The world as in real is a beautiful place. Why do we need to augment it? Now they're bringing so much awareness into this space that actually it needed, it almost needed super patrons, and they're almost acting as that patron.
Right.
And today there is no platform or tech which can survive in isolation. Like look at your iPhone. I mean, it's not all Apple. So everything requires ecosystem of different strengths. And I think with Facebook and Google and Apple all coming into play, this whole industry will take another big leap forward.
Fair enough. Very cool. All right, we've got a microphone here. If you've got a question, just stick up your hand, and someone from the team will dash over to you. Sorry, there's questions on the wall here.
Okay.
They're just not here. Okay, all right. So let's take Maximilian's question. Where's Maximilian? His question is there an ethical implication, and does there need to be regulation brought to bear?
I mean, reality is being manipulated anyway every day, if you're reading the news. It depends. These are slightly philosophical. So the science definitely allows you to manipulate reality, and maybe someone wants to enjoy the manipulated reality content. So if you're talking about movie studios, if you're talking about the next generation museums, you would actually want to see that. You want to see transformation. You want your Mercedes car become into rocket ship and then become into monster and things like that. But if it leads to hallucination, and if you start truly believing that it was an apple and you really thought it was an orange, there are dangerous psychological consequences, and ethics will have to come into play. But I would still say it's like slightly early days to see that. But I actually find the question very fair, but there's no right answer to it
yet.
Like any technology.
Yeah. Great question from Ben. Will AR headsets, devices kill the smartphone?
So, I mean, what is a smartphone, first of all? I mean, we're calling it a phone grade because one of the functions is calling. But it's actually a smart, personalized device. Why don't we call it a personalized device? And this is, I'm being a futurist here. I really feel that we will have a lot of ambient computing form factors. And I don't think glass would be a full-time form factor, but glass would come. And your fridge and your device and your screen at home. So whatever miniature, you would carry some level of miniaturized ID product with you. It could be even embedded within you. And that very miniaturized ID will engage with several form factors, and glasses would be one of those dominant form factors. But I think phone as we know it for making calls, that would change because even the audio and personalized listening and things like that, there's so much innovation going on in the audio space itself, which completely almost will make redundancy of even holding the phone like that. Phone as you know it. So yeah. Phone would stay, but not in the form as you know it.
Okay, we've got time for one last question. I'm gonna pick Mari's question, which is, how do you monetize Blipper?
We monetize Blipper through two ways. Way number one is we have almost like WordPress of augmented reality. We call it Blip Builder. Everything you saw come to life is being created by other people, like school children, advertising agencies, and it's you don't have to be a computer engineer or front-end engineer to work on Blipper. It's a drag and drop. Looks like WordPress or PowerPoint, and you can make anything in the world interactive. And when people use that product, they pay us a license fee. And the second way we monetize Blipper is the whole computer vision side you saw. So we're recognizing things with the word cloud. We give that as an API away. So someone wants to recognize faces, someone wants to recognize automobiles, for automobile insurance, someone wants to recognize clothes. All that is available as a service, and that generates revenues for us.
Awesome. And if you want to work with these guys, give them a shout. They're an amazing company. So please give it up for Ambarish Mitra and Blipper.
Thank you. Thank you.